Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review, and I'm here today to talk to you about Pitch Perfect 3 is a horrible movie. It's like terrible. Like I watched that movie for the first time just now, and I'm just kind of like, it can't be that hard to make a freaking movie. It can't be. Like it really can't. Like when I saw the opening, that whole action like boat scene, I'm all like, okay, it has to be a dream sequence. No, it is not no dream sequence. So on my channel, I've actually never spoken about Pitch Perfect. And that's because I've only seen the first movie. And back in 2012, when I saw it in movie theaters, I thought it was just an okay kind of movie. I love the music, but I didn't really care too much for like the jokes and the writing. The jokes felt kind of desperate, and a lot of the jokes were cringy and just didn't land. And so, like, I just thought it was an okay kind of movie, but it really wasn't my thing. So I never bothered to watch the other two movies or that Bumper in Berlin show. But because I have like, Peacock, I'm all like, okay, why don't I just rewatch Pitch Perfect and I'll watch the third one even though I'm scared. And for the most part, after rewatching the first movie, I'm all like, you know what? It's not as bad as I thought. See, the reason for it is like I never hated the first one. It's just a lot of the stuff just did not land with me. I saw it basically as a Bring It On ripoff, but with just music and stuff. And because the jokes were kind of cringy and they have not aged well after all these years, it's been 12 years, man, since the first movie. But the jokes just didn't land. It was kind of problematic. It just didn't do it for me, you know what I'm saying? Now, yes, there were offensive jokes. And yes, some of the offensive jokes were pretty funny. But they have not aged well over time, you know what I'm saying? But then just back then, it was just like they would say awkward stuff. They would randomly say stuff. And it's just like, why would you say that? It felt very improv. Let's just put it like that. And I truly believe it was improv because of the person who wrote the first movie and the second one, because she worked on Baby Mama. And of course, that was an improv movie and stuff. And so I didn't hate the first movie. It was just okay, but I've grown to actually like it, and I might actually buy it on DVD. I have no idea yet. In fact, I actually recorded a video and edited it and everything, and it's up and ready to go for Pitch Perfect, the first one, but I'm not going to upload it until March of 2025 for that of Women's History Month and stuff. So, yeah. But this movie, my God. So if you're unfamiliar for whatever reason with the Pitch Perfect movies, you shouldn't be because there were movies that came out in the 2010s. The reason why I watched it because the trailer was pretty funny. I love the music. Before I watched the movie, I was listening to the music on YouTube, the playlist and everything. Plus, I like chick flick movies, and I needed something for a new decade and stuff. I grew up on like Mean Girls, Clueless, Bring It On, Sugar and Spice, stuff like that. So I was looking to add something to my collection, and so I'm like, oh, here's a movie, a chick flick in the 2010s. I'll check it out. But like I said before, it wasn't my cup of tea back then, but I've grown to appreciate it a bit more now. And just like I said in my review in March that you will see if you watch it, this is the only chick flick franchise to have like a trilogy that's all theatrical and not direct to DVD. No other chick flick that was popular has ever done that. Bring It On has had nothing but sequels that go straight to DVD. And so Pitch Perfect is kind of like, it's mostly Bring It On, but with glee and a splash of American Pie. The whole premise of the whole thing is like a group of underdogs who are trying to prove themselves and win a competition. That's Bring It On. The singing aspect, that's Glee. The wackiness and silliness of it all, well, that's just American Pie. And it really is like I'm bringing on ripoff, even with like phrases like what is it aqua squeeze me, like you know how they would say like this isn't a cheerocracy, it's a cheer wait it's not a cheer something. It's a cheerocracy or something like that. I don't know. No, it's not a cheer bait. It's like a cheer. I don't know. It's something. But basically, they ripping off so much of that. But the thing is that the Pitch Perfect movies were never written as brilliantly as the first Bring It On movie. Bring It On was just amazing. They averted your expectation. The group we've been following throughout the entire movie, who we're rooting for to win, are actually our villains and everything. And our villains were the ones we thought were like, or our heroes were the one we actually thought were villains, because our heroes were the ones with major attitude and this and that. But it turns out our heroes were the ones stealing their routines. I can't talk, it's cold right now. Stealing their routines and making it their own, but they had no idea because Big Red was the one stealing them and everything. But nevertheless, you still rooted for them and everything. That was very smart because it averted your expectations and everything. And so this movie has like a group of underdogs. They have, and just like in Bring It On, they have like the Bellas are our heroes, the guy team is like our villains and everything, and they're trying to beat them. And so like it's very much Bring It On. I've never seen the second one. It's not on Peacock, and I don't have the streaming site that is on, so I can't see it. So I really have no idea what happens, and I really don't know who these two new or three new characters are. I think it's two new characters. Haley Steinfeld character and that of Christy Fitton. I have no idea who Emily and Flo are, but I'm kind of getting a gist as to who Emily a little bit is, but not so much Flo in this third movie. But in terms of like the American Pie franchise, it's even a bit of a rip of that too. The first one being a sleeper hit, the second one making a buttload of more money than that of the first. And American Pie 2 is better than American Pie 1. I have no idea about Pitch Perfect 2 because I've never seen it. And then your third movie that kind of like falls off a cliff a little bit and like focus the main character on like a side character who takes over the entire movie and stuff. And that's kind of what happens in this movie. It shouldn't be this hard to write a movie, but the reason why it didn't do so well because there was like no real focus on this movie in terms of the Bellas. There was not a consistent script. It felt very improv and they didn't have a clear focus. You gotta have a clear focus when writing anything, and it's pretty apparent they did not here. And when you look at who wrote and directed this movie, it's kind of interesting because it should have been knocked out of the park and everything. Kay Cannon is the one who wrote the first and second movie. The third one, for whatever reason, she just wrote the story outline of it, but didn't really write it the way she did the first two. Now, I'm kind of a little shocked that Pitch Perfect was pretty decent the way it was to spawn a franchise and everything, because she wrote Baby Mama, and Baby Mama did not do too well. Now, she has like a hit or miss resume. Some of her stuff is good and some of her stuff is pretty bad, but her TV side of things is pretty good. And so, things like her shows last for a pretty good season, but then some of her shows don't last very long. And her writing, I don't know TV wise, but just by Baby Mama and Pitch Perfect, you can tell it's like stereotypes. There's raunchy humor, there's gratuitous humor, a lack of character development. And that's one problem I had with the first movie, is like it's a huge group of a cast of characters, but you really don't get to know everybody that well because it really only focuses on like 3 people and that's about it, and everybody else are just side characters with side backgrounds and stuff. And so like I don't know what the second one's about. I don't know if there's any character development whatsoever, but in this third movie, my god, it's character regression and everything. The writers literally regressed their characters and even brought back some stereotypes and tropes from that of the first movie. But it was gonna be hard making this third movie no matter what, because from what I've read on Reddit about the second movie, because I don't want to spoil myself with the second movie, so I didn't read it on Wikipedia, nothing like that. People said the second movie pretty much ended like, the Bellas. Like, they went their own separate ways, they achieved what they wanted to achieve, and there was no point really for a third one. They should have, honestly, they should have just went with a completely different group of Bellas and told a different story with different characters. It's risky, but what else can you do? You know what I'm saying? Because like who else are you really gonna focus this movie on? Because they, in this third movie, they have now graduated. They're no longer really doing a cappella. They miss it, but then they have crappy jobs. I'll get to that a little bit later. Let's get to our second writer, Mike White. Now, this dude has a long resume, still hit or miss, but a lot of good hits. Because like a lot of his shows are iconic, like Dawson's Creek and White Lotus, Freaks and Geeks, like all kind of stuff. So he's mostly in that whole like drama, teen drama type thing. So this should have been something he should have knocked out of the park. And you can tell there was some drama in this movie because there's like father and abandonment twice in this movie. The girls struggle with their jobs because they hate it, but there's no real focus on some of those like plot threads and stuff. So it's kind of odd that him and Kay couldn't knock it out the park. Then there is the director, a brand new director, Trish Sia. This was her second movie ever, and it's kind of odd because here's the thing, right? Why would you get her to direct when her first movie was Step It Up All In? That's like a dance romance movie, where there's a lot of choreography and stuff like that. Dancing is not singing. And I will never watch the Step Up movies because I don't want to see a bunch of dancers try to act. But like, she's also directed a lot of music videos, so she has some experience with music, you know what I'm saying? And here's the interesting thing, like this movie, everybody knows it focuses on Amy. I'll get to that a little bit later. It literally turns into like some type of action, drama, spy-ish type thing, right? With the whole Amy character, which doesn't make no sense because they're supposed to sing in this movie. Anyways, there's also a huge military presence in this movie that irked a lot of the fans off. Now, when you look at Trisha's resume, after this, her movies actually do really well. They get positive reviews, but I don't know if they make a lot of money, and I don't know the average score and everything, but they get positive reviews. And after this movie, you tend to notice something. She either makes comedy romance movies or action spy comedy movies. In fact, she's made about 2 or 3 action comedy spy movies. So now you understand why this movie had this action spy thriller type feel to it and everything that just came completely out of nowhere. And yeah, like she was not the best person to direct this movie. But despite how you feel about these movies, like I said before, it's a sleeper hit and everything. The first movie has a pretty reasonable budget, and it made a lot of money. Like a lot of money. And then the second movie had a bigger budget, and then it made even more money. It doubled the box office money it made for the first. So of course they was gonna make a third. But the problem is the first movie did not rely on star power. The stars in this movie, the only famous people was Elizabeth Banks and John Michael Higgins and everything. Those are the only 2 recognizable faces I recognized going into the first movie. Everybody else was unknown at that time. Anna Kendricks, who was the main star of the first movie, she's been in tons of stuff before Pitch Perfect, but it was Pitch Perfect that put her on the map. Brittany Snow was in a huge flop in terms of the Prom remake, but she's still been in stuff. But once again, this is what she's known for. Anna Camp, I have no idea. I know she does like a lot of TV stuff. Nobody knew who she was, and nobody knew who the minor characters were. And nobody knew who Rebel Wilson was at that time because she was brand new. She was in the flop of Ghost Rider, but she had a cameo playing a goth girl with her hair dyed. I mean, people don't even know it's her. But by the second movie, because the budget was increased, because the first one did so well, it had a lot of star power. There are over 30 to 50 cameos from some big name celebrities, plus other people who's cast in there, and plus Michelle and Barack Obama. That's huge. The former president and everything, and the former first lady, that's some major star power. So it's like, you got all these cameos, all these stars and everything, and you think the third one's going to be good, but then here comes the third one. The third one's always kind of mess people up. The third one really didn't have no star power. That was like big and huge and everything. It had John Lithgow, who's very famous, but his Australian accent was horrible. And that plot, him being Amy's father, made absolutely no sense. So right from the start of the movie, their star power consisted of DJ Callahan, which this man cannot act at all. I cringed every time he spoke because I'm just like, dude, you're not acting because you're not an actor. Why are you in this movie? You should have had a tiny cameo and that's it. But no, they kept going over and over with him, and he just kept talking and talking and talking. Ruby Rose, who was somewhat of a big star back in the day, but kind of dwindled now, she was in this movie, and personally, I just don't like none of the projects she's been. I don't like her acting. Like, I'm sorry, I just don't. Like, she became famous all because she used to get naked on that jail show, that prison show she was on. Orange is the New Black, and then she just became famous after that. But then her acting's not very good. She was in that Resident Evil movie, that was terrible. She was in the first season of Batwoman, that was horrible. It only got better once she left. However, her acting wasn't terrible in this movie. It was actually decent. Problem is, she's not really in this movie. Then you have Moises Aries and everything from Hannah Montana, a Disney Channel show. And well, he has a cameo, and he's a Colombian actor who's playing a major stereotype of a black man. He's not playing the black man, he's just playing a ghetto like person who looks like who acts and looks like a black rapper and stuff like that. The dreadlocks, the grill, the clothes, the accent, the rapping and everything. And you know what I'm saying? And it was so cringy, and it's just like that's who you got from Hannah Montana. You didn't get Hannah Montana herself for an actual singing movie and everything. And even though he's not the biggest Disney Channel star, he still acts, but his star power isn't that huge, even though he was now in Fallout, but it's not like it's mega. However, casting him in this movie didn't do them no favors, because 2 years prior, he was seen in a picture topless laying in bed with a then underage 13 years old Willa Smith. The same Willa Smith that is Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith's daughter. He was 20 at that time. Now, he's good friends with their family, so of course they didn't care about this picture. But it's like, dude, you're 20 years old and you're laying in the bed with a 13-year-old and you're topless. I don't even care if they didn't do anything that's still gross and inappropriate. And like, what the heck? You know what I'm saying? And now it makes people wonder only because like people have been taking quite a paying attention to celebrities now and their strange behavior. There's the dude who plays Miles Morales in the Spider-Man movies and his strange behavior, how he treats his female co-stars. There's the whole R. Kelly thing, the P. Diddy thing. And when you actually look at this dude's like Instagram, you always see him hang out with these half-naked models that are in bikinis and stuff. And it's just kind of like, so clearly he's either a ladies' man or he's friends with a lot of hot girls and he's friends with the Smith family. So when you go back and look at this picture, it just doesn't look good. Now, I'm not saying he did anything, at least I hope not, but it's just not a good look. You know what I'm saying? And the reason why it's not a good look, because this whole trilogy, the problem with this trilogy is the era that it was in. The first movie was the pre-Me Too cancel culture era. The second movie was during the mix of the Me Too cancel culture era. And then this third movie was post Me Too cancel culture era. So because of that, the first movie, they was allowed to say and do whatever they wanted. And people didn't care because it was like, before people started like nitpicking everything. But then by the second movie, people's all like, hey, look, man, y'all can't tell these jokes. All right. And then you get to the third movie where all that offensive, like verbal jokes are now gone. They're no longer making fun of people's like sexualities. However, because it is post Me Too, there's the one male character played by Michael. He is very sexist and everything, like towards Elizabeth Banks' character towards the end. And I'll get into that a little bit later because that's another part of the movie that I just don't understand. Why are they there? And so, like, Rebel Wilson's character, she was the main one who did all the offensive jokes in the first movie, but now you can see that is completely stripped from like, her character and stuff. They still have offensive stuff, but just not the way you always think it. Like in the first movie, see, they will still do race like jokes, whatever, like the whole Moises character, playing little pimp or whatever his name is. And like, but like in the first movie, you had the two Asian girls. The one Asian girl spoke very quietly, and that's a stereotype of saying Asian girls are shy. Then you have the roommate Asian girl who was like mean and rude for no apparent reason. And so like, let's get into the main problem of this third movie. Amy herself, or Patricia, whatever her name is. And here's the thing, I like Rebel Wilson. I really love her as an actress. I've only seen her in the first movie, this movie, and like, that television show she was in, Super Fun Night, and she's an amazing singer and she is gorgeous. But here is the problem. They made her the main focus of this movie because her celebrity blew up overnight because of the first movie. Because of the first movie, she became an instant hit. She had dry wit humor and she barely spoke in the first movie and she barely did anything, but everything she did, she stole the entire scene. That made her into a superstar to where she got her own television show right after that movie. The television show, she played an American, working in a business, showing what it's like to be a big girl, dating and everything else, and wanting to have fun, on like her off nights and stuff. And to promote that movie, they literally had the main cast sing in a music video, because they're trying to piggy bank off of Pitch Perfect. And how big was her celebrity after this movie? Well, the picture on the left is the original Pitch Perfect like movie poster, right? And as you can see, she's just average size like everybody else. She's not in the middle like the main characters. But the picture on the right is the new Pitch Perfect first movie poster that's on the Blu-ray and everything else. And as you can see, she's in the middle and she's larger than everybody else. And no, not larger because she's bigger than the rest of the cast, but they made her, because in the first movie, the first poster, she's about average size and everything, but the same height as everybody else. But now you see she's front and center and the main focus. That is how big her celebrity is. It got even bigger by the second movie. Just about every 5 minutes, Amy shows up in the movie. And every 5 minutes, whenever she's in the room, she has to say something. Her jokes are so improv that it's not even like Rebel is trying to act. She's hamming it up, like she's going bigger and bolder than she's ever gone before, and it's coming off as cringy and stuff. Like when she had her throat was dry and she was like coughing it up. That was so irritating. Like that's not even funny, but for somebody thought it was funny. And she's in the entire movie. Like it starts off with that of Becca's character for like 2-3 minutes. Then we see Rebel's character because they live together, and then after that it's a little bit interaction with the Bellas. Then the entire rest of the first and the second half of the movie and a little bit of the third is all about Amy, Patricia, and stuff. Because apparently they wanted to explain why she has two names. Apparently she ran away from home at 18 because her dad's in some shady business. He's one of those like bad mobster type guys, and he's bleeding money and stealing money, and she just found out she inherited tons of money and he wants her money. And so it's like, what the heck kind of plot is this? And then it literally turns into like an action thing because he kidnapped the Bellas for ransom. So her and Becca go to rescue them. There's like she's literally fighting people hand to hand, like combat and everything. And then the boat blows up and they all go in the water. This is supposed to be an a cappella movie. Why is it this big subplot with action and explosions and money and mobster type stuff? Why is that there? Like, who the heck thought that would be a good idea? Oh, and I just found out that Rebel Wilson was paid $10 million for Pitch Perfect 3. And Anna Kendricks was only paid $6 million. And Anna is the actual lead of the entire franchise. And I get it. Rebel Wilson, like I said, her popularity exploded. So, of course, when that happens, she negotiated for more money. But that was so selfish and everything. All the Bellas should have been paid around the same amount of money, or at least the leads. The lead should have been paid about $6 million. And then the lesser known characters who don't really get to do that much, like Ashley, Jessica, Cynthia, and Lily and stuff, should have been paid about $3 million. That would have been fair, or at least $2 million. You know what I'm saying? That would have been really fair. But $10 million and her character helped ruin the entire movie so much that the third movie was so bad by critics, just chopping it to pieces in the audience, that they couldn't even get a fourth movie and stuff. And it's just like, I like Rebel and everything, but that was just extremely selfish. And I get it, she's popular, she's famous, and they always want more money, but greed helped ruin this movie. And I remember years ago, I saw that article that said, part of her contract was she couldn't lose no weight. I never read the entire article. And so, like, until just now, and it's like that was part of the agreement for the $10 million. She could not lose no weight and everything, and couldn't gain more than just like 10 pounds and stuff. And I'm just like, seriously, dude. Like, Hollywood is so greedy for money and stuff. They put money over the value of their movie and their script and their characters. Like, I don't get that crap, you know? And I heard Anna had to like fight for like, you know, equal screen time for like some of the lesser known characters like Anna and not Anna, but Ashley and like Jessica. I don't know if that's true or not, but this would now explain why Anna is always becoming an executive producer on the projects that she's on because she doesn't want to get screwed out of money. Like, they lost focus in the movies, but when it comes to that, the actual Bellas, they are barely in the movie, and I mean barely in the movie. Like, I forget the one girl name who's Ryan Phillippe's baby mama. I think her name might be like Alyssa or something like that. She's not even really in the movie because her character gave birth. I'm pretty sure she was pregnant in real life because she was pregnant around that time. Then there's the inside running gag of like Ashley. Ashley's been there since all three movies, but Ashley never does anything and barely says anything. And they keep making these meta type gags of, wow, like I didn't even know you was here. And, oh my God, they actually know our names. Because there's another girl with her, and I don't know who that is either. There's no backstory with them. There's no plot with them. There's a running gag of, hey, we keep forgetting to write stuff about you, so you're just here in the movie collecting the paycheck. Then it's like there is the Aubrey character, Anna Camp's character. Her role is so reduced it's not even funny. So all of the Bellas hate their jobs and they miss being in the a cappella group. So when they go back to the reunion, they thought they was going to sing, but they're just there to watch the new Bellas. So it hurts their feelings, but somehow Anna Camp's character, Aubrey, somehow gets them on a USO show because her dad's in the military. And there's so much military reference all throughout this movie. It's just kind of like, I feel like this was a recruitment movie. Like, I'm not even joking. Like, if it's not about the spy mobster stuff, then it's about the military stuff. And so, like, with her character, she just keeps constantly saying, I hate my job, but oh, where's my dad? He's not here. He's never here. So she mostly complains about that for a couple of minutes and then it stops. And that's really about it. Then her dad finally shows up at the end of the movie, and that's literally it. How do you go from a character who's nervous and throwing up on stage when she's trying to perform, and because of that they keep losing, to being a control freak who does not like change and is rude and your stereotypical, like, you know, preppy girl and everything, to go from that to this? And to barely go to that, there's nothing about her character that's in any way interesting in this movie. Then you have Emily, who I still don't know, but it's Haley Steinfeld's character. And apparently she wants to write her own music. So she apparently has now given up on that. And that's literally it. That's all we know about her in this movie. She's literally just there. You have Cynthia, who was a lesbian in like the first movie and had a gambling problem. She's your stereotypical predatory lesbian. And once again, she barely does anything. There's no reference to her being a lesbian in this movie whatsoever. She never hits on a girl. She never tries to get with a girl, like nothing. And if she has a gambling problem, when they was at the casino, why didn't we see that? She's literally just there. Then you have that of Lily, who apparently her real name is Esther. Okay, but here's the craziest thing about Lily, right? In the first movie, she was an Asian stereotype of being shy and quiet. She talks really low and you can't hear her until you actually do hear her, and she's all like, she likes to burn things and blow stuff up. It's like weird kind of crazy kind of stuff, right? She's weird, she awkward. She did the snow angel and vomit. Like, she's a weird character, right? But then towards the end of the first movie, she actually spoke loud and she beatboxes. So it's kind of like, okay, everybody should know she can talk because she talks loud now. Then all of a sudden in the third movie, she's back to being quiet and you can't hear her. Then for whatever reason, Towards the end of the movie, she finally speaks in a loud voice, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, you can talk!" And she's like, "Yeah, and my name's Esther." Oh, that's supposed to be so funny. So to give her a little something to do, they have her have a love interest, but all it is her giving him the look. He gives her the look, and that's literally it. And then towards the end of the movie, they finally just hold hands and walk off. All throughout the middle movie, they don't do nothing. That's character regression right there. Let's see, who am I on next? Oh, there is Becca. Why is Becca even in this movie? I said this before in the first movie. She is the manic pixie girl. She's condescending, she complains a lot, she treats her love interest like crap. In the first movie, she's an unlikable character, but she has the goal of wanting to be a singer, and everything falls in her lap. She wants to be a singer, she works at a radio station. Chloe's character kind of like walks in on her in the shower, and she can sing, so now she's part of the Bellas. It's an uphill battle between her and Aubrey because they don't like each other. She's pushy and, well, she's edgy and daring, which kind of ruffles the feathers of the group because, you know, Aubrey doesn't like that, but they do need a change, but she never asks them before she does it. And even when like her boyfriend or her love interest is so nice and sweet to her, she's always so rude to him for like no reason. And you know, so they always try to make this main focus of her being the best there is and stuff. And then when the radio stuff she gives her flash drive to do, he just tosses it in the pile, but then all of a sudden he likes it, and ooh, she's making moves. But now in this third movie, she's kind of like a music producer kind of person. And so what happened to her wanting to sing? Like, you know what I'm saying? That just like went completely out the door. Then there is like Chloe, who like apparently she wanted to be a music teacher in the second movie I heard. And so Chloe's always just been a character who's there. She comforts, like, you know, Becca. She's friends with Aubrey, but they argue a lot. And now in this one, she's completely god crazy over some guy she first met. And like, you know, that's really about it. And she really, really hates her job of being a vet. And so, like, even Becca has a love interest that just kind of, both their love interest kind of just comes and goes throughout the movie. And they're not interesting whatsoever. They're just guys that look good and are just there to give these two characters something to do. And what's been pissing off the fan base, apparently, since the first movie, fans assume Chloe and Becca are gonna get together because they're okay. In the first movie, like I said before, Chloe walked in on Becca in the shower, and so like, they're naked and everything. Becca's uncomfortable. Chloe's totally cool with it, and then her boyfriend comes in and he's naked, and so and then she's always comforting, like, you know, sticking up for Becca. I don't know what happens in the second movie, but apparently things start to heat up. And so by the third movie, you constantly see these two constantly looking at each other, getting kind of jealous when the love interests are around, getting very close, grabbing each other boobs and everything, and you know, doing that like gag from the first movie of grabbing the boobs and everything. And it's just like fans said that they was baiting these two characters just to bring in the LGBT, like, you know, audience and everything. Some people feel Universal had cold feet and just didn't want to like do that. Most likely they did, because that's what a lot of these Hollywood movies would do. They'll bait you and then like they won't like deliver and everything. Because these two in the third movie really did seem like they're into each other for what little screen time they had. And as for Flo character, I have no idea who she was from the second, and I still don't know who she is because she don't do nothing. Period. So the Bellas are really non-existent in their own movie. They're just there as a footnote because it's all about Amy. And also, Amy's father is the main villain of the freaking movie, which is weird because they start off with Ruby Rose's character and her group being a rival band. So you assume they're gonna be like the antagonists, but they're not. They barely show up in the movie. They're just a footnote in everything. And what's interesting is that you assume they was gonna go on the route of the Bellas having to change up their style and introduce musical instruments, because both of these competing bands have musical instruments and they're getting sound out. And they once again lost the riff off and everything. And so that causes Aubrey to be all like, are we gonna have to change our style up? Because I don't want to, because I don't want to do like no musical instrument. And because, music changes every 5 years, you know what I'm saying? And so it would have made sense for them to change up their styles, but how would they have to come over the obstacle? Well, they don't, because it's just nothing and everything. And so, of course, Becca gets this big music deal at the end of the movie, and the Bellas decide, you know what, let's just go our separate ways, and we're living in the past, and you live in the future, and, we need to take up jobs that we actually like. And from what I read, they actually went their separate ways at the end of the second movie, so why redo that again? This is why they should just have a different cast for the third one. And it's just kind of like, when it comes to the Bellas, you don't want to see no movie with them struggling at their jobs constantly, but it would have been nice to bring up once in a while or constantly see them at their job. It would have been nice to see them, like, trying to catch up many years later, because this is about 4 years after the second movie. So it would have been nice to see them catch up, see where they're at in their lives, and see how much it sucks, and having them reminisce about the good times and being like, you know what, why don't we just, like, I don't know, try to form a band and try to make it in, like, the music world. That would have been interesting and stuff like that, instead of what we got in, like, this movie. Because this isn't even a movie, really. Like, it's just not. And why are these two characters still here? Like, why? Do they literally follow the Bellas around everywhere? Like, they're getting very annoying and everything. And it's just kind of like, there is literally no point for these two characters to be in the movie. Oh, Elizabeth is the producer. She's the former director of the second movie. Of course she's here. But they don't add nothing to the movies. They just seem like stalkers at this point. Oh, and not to mention, the music was not as good as it was in the first two movies. This is the worst riff-off I've ever seen. I listened to the soundtrack and I do not like it. Like, it's decent, but it is not as cool and awesome as the first two movies. That was really, like, kept me to kind of liking the first movie, was the music. I can listen to that all the time. They literally did not care about this movie. They didn't. They simply didn't. And even though I'm not a huge fan of, like, like the first one and everything, this is still a successful franchise and a successful, like, all-female, like, movie and stuff. They should have handled this movie with better care. And you can kind of tell they knew this was going to be the third and last movie, because at the end credits, they're showing clips of, like, all the actresses at boot camp. And they're showing clips from, like, the first and the second movie. So it's kind of like, okay, it's the farewell and everything. And of course, they had that Bumper in Berlin show, which, why are they going to spin off in his character? And he was such a prick in, like, the first movie. Why does he get his own, like, television show? Now, I don't know how he is in the second, but he was horrible in the first. I hated his character. You'd think they would have, like, spun off with one of the other girls or something like that, but they didn't. And that would have been, but of course the show got canceled because of the actor strike and the writer strike and stuff like that. But it is bad how this franchise just, like, crumbled after a while. Because all they saw were dollar signs. They didn't care if it was going to be a good script or a bad script, or like what? And I feel bad for these actresses because, like, you gotta think about their careers going forward and stuff. Like Esther Dean, who plays Cynthia, she's not even a real actress, she's a singer. You know what I'm saying? And so this could have hurt her music career. Then you gotta think like, Rebel Wilson, she's been going through a lot of drama lately, so that's not gonna help. Haley Steinfeld. Now, I'm a massive Haley Steinfeld fan. I'm always gushing over her because of her performance in True Grit and all these other performances. But I'm starting to notice something. She acts the same way in every project she's in, except for that of True Grit. After True Grit that made her famous, she's just been stuck. Like, at one point, she was the it girl, but that quickly went away when Romeo and Juliet bombed and everything. And she mostly keeps playing this charismatic, quirky type character that's lovable in every project she's in. Hollywood cast her as that, and she acts that way. At some point, Hollywood's gonna stop. You know what I'm saying? Brittany Snow, she's done a couple of movies here and there, and she did a TV show that got canceled after one season. Anna Camp was just in Hysteria, and that was a good show on Peacock, but I think that might be his last season, but now she's gonna be in Scream 7. Anna Kendricks, the person who they kept propelling to be like the big main star of this franchise at first, like I said before, she was in a lot of stuff before the first Pitch Perfect movie. Since this third movie, she's barely appeared in anything. And most of the stuff she's appeared in, she had to executive produce, which is really smart. And so her TV show is doing really good. But what happened to this big movie star that she was going to be in? Because she's been in a lot of flops since, like the Pitch Perfect movies and stuff. And so, when you look at this movie and you look at the star power and everything, it's like first it was on everybody's like, mind of like being in this movie or being in this show. And now that's kind of starting to fade away. I haven't really even seen Rebel Wilson in anything major in a while because she's mostly been bopping around and doing her own personal life and dealing with other stuff. And because that's the problem. See, the thing with Rebel Wilson, like I said before, I like her as an actress and stuff, but Hollywood only saw her popularity in dollar signs. And so they do what they always do. Who's ever a breakout character in the movie, they propel that person to like, major stardom and like, having their own show and being the center of attention in a movie. But then that always crashes and burns because, when you find that new hit star, you gotta make sure they can deliver in all their projects and stuff. And I haven't seen her in no other movies, so I don't know if she can or not. But like I said before, I liked her in the first movie. I liked her in the television show. But this third movie, it was just too much. She should have dialed it back, that her performance and how much material she had and stuff. Because that whole plot with her having a dad that came out of nowhere was the weirdest thing I've ever seen a movie turn into. Because she has talked interest in wanting to have her own solo spin-off movie of this. And apparently they kind of gave it to her in the form of the third movie. Because it's not even really about the Bellas. The Bellas are just there. Mufasa did not die for this. Alrighty, well, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.